we're still covering, of course, our top story today, and that is, of course, day 3 of Police Commissioner, Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, that is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's day 3 testimony that wrapped up at 3:30 out in Pretoria. We're going to further unpack this now by welcoming criminologist Professor Nirmala Gopal. Professor Gopal, it's such a pleasure. Welcome to SA Today. So we have certainly heard in finer detail, well, our focus with you at this time, Brown Mogotsi's alleged involvement or perceived influence, right, on high-level police matters, but having absolutely no ties to the policing or even judicial activities, and the exposure by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on some sensitive information that he had access to just by virtue of what he says that he's being linked as a close associate of the Minister of Police. Surely this is illegal, Professor, and should automatically call for the Minister's prompt removal as a breach of his oath.
Good afternoon, Alicia, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yeah, of course, the association can't be illegal, but I think the activities between the two of them, or the illegal activities that Mogotsi has actually been involved in, is definitely and surely illegal, or even if not illegal, I think would be illegitimate and unprocedural. And I think that's where that's what we need and where we need to focus on.
And Professor, I mean, you know, I say this because in the time of the state capture investigations and accusations, allegations were that there was undue influence on those that should actually uphold or otherwise be lawmakers. At the time, I think it was the Guptas that were suspect number 1. But General Mkhwanazi also alluded to the fact that, interestingly enough, that Mogotsi is still not charged for anything. He's not a suspect at this stage. But how should then the rule of law be applied in this instance? Because how do I, as a normal citizen, have such access to high top police matters? Is that not criminal by its own accord?
Yeah, I think definitely the fact that he had access to those documents would be categorized as a particular type of crime. I think, yes, definitely. What we've got to wait for, Alicia, is to find the evidence that would emerge through the Madlanga Commission. I know that at this point in time, Commissioner Mkhwanazi has provided some kind of evidence, but I think that evidence would have to be corroborated. And once we have further evidence, and I think perhaps, more tangible in terms of linking him more closely to having this evidence in his possession, is what's going to give this Commissioner Mkhwanazi's allegations more impetus and gravitas. I think that's what the commission is actually going to be waiting for. Because remember, you can't charge him until you have absolute surety in terms of the fact that he has breached whatever law or legislation that he has.
Mm-hmm. And I found it very interesting also as well, Professor, that Mkhwanazi actually went to great lengths to also specify that they were currently not even looking at him as a person of interest or under any investigation at this place. So can his role or alleged or perceived role then in this regard, as well as some of his own public statements following the July expose or allegations by General Mkhwanazi, where he has alluded to assisting with even the capture of Bester, but if you test his involvement in actions, one asks then, to whose benefit was he conducting these acts? Who authorized his involvement? And how then does the commission deal with him as a named individual in this matter, and a very central figure indeed, since he basically set off the sequence of events by texting General Mkhwanazi? So in what capacity then is he called to the commission, just as a witness or an associate in this regard?
I think there could be various caps that he could wear, depending on what the commission actually wants to garner from him. But I think definitely he should be a person of interest at this point in time, because we have some evidence that points to the fact that he has interfered with police investigations. And I think the commission will definitely need to investigate that further so that they can have more substantive evidence, and perhaps to to have a prima facie case against him. Maybe that's what they're looking for.
And this expose also, Professor, speaks to that that was just shared with South Africans, of course, on the so-called drug or criminal cartel that has been enjoying this deep cover from top officials and courts. It speaks to vast, their vast protection through any means. It certainly is deeper than what we've heard. What are your expectations as, of course, the Commission continues to uncover some of these allegations or investigate some of these allegations?
So, Alicia, I think, one of the expectations, not just my expectation, but I think I probably represent the voice of the masses as well, is that these criminal syndicates and especially the drug cartels, etc., would be exposed. Because besides the fact that they are making enormous amounts of monies, they are actually causing the decay of the South African society, and especially the vulnerable and the poor. So I think the hope and our expectations would be that they would be exposed, but more importantly than that, that they would face the consequences of the law, be charged, go through the court processes, and of course be convicted as well as sentenced. I think that's what the majority of South Africans are actually hoping for, and I think all of us, including the masses, are hoping and seeing the Madlanga Commission as a beacon of hope to start uncovering and start to actually normalize the South African society. I think for too many decades now, we've seen a gradual decay to the extent that we've lost almost complete confidence in our legal system, our judiciary, etc. And when we juxtapose that with the democracy that we fought so hard for, it makes one wonder, what was the thinking and the planning behind the democracy, if not to favor a few elite in the country?
And more questions there, Professor. Why has been their silence for this long? Professor, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your fruitful engagement there. That is Professor Nirmala Gopal, a criminologist there, weighing in on the Brown Mogotsi aspect, as well as his involvement and ties to Minister Mchunu at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.